All right, I've hit recording on there. And recording on here. Guys, I was really confused. Did you want to take a gold brick home? How do we feel about Derek DelGaudio's In and of Itself? What do you guys think?
I didn't have any thoughts in particular on the gold brick, personally. That wasn't like a main focal point of the film for me.
Wait, can I tell you guys something crazy about the gold brick, though?
Absolutely.
So, we assume that this is a spoilerific
Yes,
podcast.
yes, yes, it is.
Okay. So in the taped version of the show in and of itself, they asked the audience to like come up with an intersection where this gold brick appears, and the intersection they come up with is 3rd Street and Avenue A, where I used to live.
What?
Yes.
That is funny.
And I still live in the same neighborhood, but not on that corner anymore. And I actually made an entire film, Third Street Blackout. It's a romantic comedy available on Peacock. And it takes place, and Third Street Blackout refers to that street where that gold brick was. When they said 3rd and A, I just like lost my mind.
It was made just for you. Well, then you do something special.
Exactly. For me, the gold brick was very special.
Cool.
That is pretty amazing. I had a weird moment watching that film last night with my friend last night too, because Maria Abramovich, the artist's present, was on, and my friend was like, "Oh, I almost waited in line 4 hours to see her, but I didn't want to, and I'm so disappointed." And I said that reminds me of the time that David Blaine was encased in ice in New York City at the Lincoln Center. And I saw him, and I was like, "Oh, David Blaine, how long do I want to sit here watching him?" I was busy, so I left. And then 5 seconds later, on camera, David Blaine appeared in this video. He said, I was like, what? My friend was like, he's reaching us through the video. This guy.
You both have had far more exciting lives than I have, I think, is what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and that is our pre-show chatter. That's it. And now the credits will roll. Okay. All right. And we're back. Welcome, everybody, to Josh and Cassie Yell About Movies. I'm Josh, a freelance entertainment journalist. I'm here with Cassie, a newser with a fantastic mug and a great smile. And a special guest this morning, you guys. We are too excited. One of my favorite podcasters. She's the host of Fake the Nation, a terrific book called...
How to make white people
laugh. Make white people laugh. Yes, it's a. It unfortunately did not make my white brother-in-law laugh. Although I did buy it for him and give it to him for Christmas one year. And she can now be seen in the Adult Swim show Bird Girl. You guys, Negin Farsad, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Yes.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. Hello.
Yes, thanks so much. Why did you want to see Derek DelGaudio's In and of Itself, or talk about it, I should say?
Well, it's funny because I had been hearing from random other people, like, you have to see Derek DelGaudio's In and of Itself. And I was like, I've been hearing about it for months. And then enough people said it to me that I was like, okay. But the thing is, like, everything about the description of this show is something that I thought would be horrendous, right? Like, there's a magic element, you know what I mean? It's essentially a solo show that was done live but taped. Like, all of this to me is just like not how I want to spend an hour, 20 minutes, or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I finally did it, and I was floored. And so when Joshua said, what do you want to talk about, this was the first thing that came to mind. I mean, it was probably the most, I don't know, emotional, like, moving experience I've had watching something in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. It was extremely moving to me too. I was analyzing all the parts and the gun and the Rulatista, and I was trying to figure out what grabbed me so much. What grabbed you?
Right. So I mean, the story. It's funny because like he almost gives it away in the title, but it's sort of like someone told him he was the rulatista,
Yeah.
which is like a person that would, that turns the chambers in the gun and takes the risk of shooting themselves, whatever that game is.
Right. It's a Russian roulette.
Russian roulette. There it is. Sorry. I'm so like don't know anything about guns or anything that you do. But so yeah, so it's and someone said you're like the rulatista in your life. Someone said that to him in a bar, and he sort of has grappled with this like label, and wait, what was your question?
Why did it get you so emotional, I guess is the real question.
Because I think because ever since you're like an angsty teenager, when just going to the playground is not enough to satisfy your existential needs, you start grappling with this question of who you are and is there or not, like, what am I gonna do? What does it mean, the things I'm gonna do? Like, what are my dreams? Do my dreams matter? Are they worthy? Am I worthy? And you start sort of, like affixing these labels to yourself, or you hear someone say something about you, and then that just becomes a thing that you keep thinking about yourself, even if it's not true. And I remember once as a child, my parents said to me, I mean, literally, I was like 7, that they used to say to me when I was a kid and didn't want to wake up on weekends or whatever, like, oh, you're so lazy. And I have spent a lifetime being an utter and complete workaholic in some effort to prove to my parents as a 7-year-old that I'm not lazy. You know what I mean? So we hear these
labels,
like labels, and we kind of end up changing something about ourselves to suit the label. And that is kind of what the show was. And for him, I think it was just like a journey to figure out that you don't have to be that one label, that it can be a part of you, but not all of you. And it's such a simple message, right? It's probably something we've all, kind of rationally understood, but to see it sort of like play out like that, was really something else.
Yeah.
My question is why everything leading up to that big moment. It seemed like a lot of sort of like disconnected, disjointed like tricks and things like that, and getting people very emotional. I mean, the thing with the letter, it was really nice. I mean, it was nice. I got emotional. I did, because seeing people cry makes me cry. So you know. So I did, but I don't know. I guess I was struggling with understanding how it all fit together. The card tricks and the...
Right. I mean, the one I do want to say, first of all, about seeing people cry, which is like, he did this show, it says on the...
like 522 times or something.
Exactly. Like 550 whatever times.
Yeah.
And he did it in New York City in a theater that fit about 150 people or whatever. And and imagine doing that every day and eliciting, that kind of reaction from an audience every day. I think seeing people cry is one thing. Like seeing people cry, when Angelina Jolie is doing the crying is one thing that might make me cry, right? But then seeing like literally someone's aunt or whatever on a stage reading a letter that was impossibly written to her from her daughter or best friend or whatever, as a magic trick, which it is, and she cries, and that is like a different experiencing a real person's honest reaction to something, I think is so magnificent. It's kind of what makes documentary so powerful, right? And there was an element of that here, because these were real people. They were experiencing real emotion, and then that instance, each person that was called to the stage to read a letter, like that, that letter was just impossibly written to them from someone they loved, and it was like unclear how it happened. Like it was like the
Mhm.
craziest magic trick I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the whole time I'm thinking, the way my brain works is like, well, how did they do this? So that might have
Sure.
ruined the whole illusion for me, because the entire time I was just sitting there like, well, wait, how? Yeah.
How? I know.
You know?
I know how. But yeah, because obviously he shuffled a bunch of letters. You know, they picked a letter from the pile. It was like, how does he know? And then the letters had detail in them about that person's life, about, you know, a particular bathroom in high school that they used to get high at. Like,
Yep.
it was, you know, really
Yeah.
remarkably detailed.
Right, and clearly he had to have gotten their information from their credit card purchases somehow, which seems a little sketchy, but that's just what me and my friend were talking about last night, because how else could, you know, I mean, right?
So I know a few people who went to the live show.
Uh-oh,
right?
yeah?
You do? Oh.
Yeah.
Was one of them Bill
Yeah.
Gates?
Way to bury the lead. Dang.
I was like, I can't believe that I texted a couple friends of mine. I was like, you guys have to see this Derek DELGAUDIO'S in and of itself. It's really amazing. And then one of them writes me back like, oh, I saw it live, and it was like earth shattering. It was fantastic. And I was like, first of all, how did you see this live? And didn't immediately tell me and everyone you know to go see this show. Like, you know, I felt like so betrayed. But a few of my friends had seen it live, and my first question was, did Derek DELGAUDIO contact anyone in your family in an effort to write a letter?
Right. No, that's a good, fair question.
And they were like, no, like, you know, and it is one of the a friend of mine's dad is a magician, crazily, and he basically said like it is the most advanced magic show he had ever seen. And the funny thing is, like, magic is just a third of the show, right? The rest of it is storytelling and kind of, you know, taking us through his life and stuff like that. So I don't even want to overplay the magic, but the magic that we do see is like next level shit, which is why David Blaine is in the audience.
Yes.
And when he accurately just picks the label that David Blaine had picked for himself, David Blaine starts crying.
Yeah, he calls him my brother. My brother.
My brother. And David Blaine is just like sobbing in the audience, because I also think because when you're, one of the feelings I had as a comedian was I want to make people feel this way with my art, the way DELGAUDIO is making people feel right now, like in whatever way that manifests itself in comedy. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, you gotta take these labels that you people affix to you. Like pain in the ass was one of the ones I saw at the very beginning. I thought that was funny, and then the whole idea of how like these labels that you get as a child aren't really who you are, and then these other things begin to define you, and then the whole thing is a setup for how all this knowledge, as he calls it, sort of hides what's really there. And then he does that trick with the brick, and then it's gone somehow. He builds a card house around a brick, and then knocks it over, and the brick is gone. How did he do that?
How did he do that? I mean, it was remarkable. But my question for you guys is, did you have a personal reckoning with, like, you know, the last like 10 minutes of the show, or like, you know, the outrageous 10 minutes where basically DELGAUDIO goes, everyone in the audience sort of stands up, and he goes one by one, identifying the card people had picked to identify themselves. And it's funny because I sort of pictured myself like going into that audience, you know, and picking a card, and what would I have picked, and all of that stuff, which I think was why so many people were so emotional, right? Because they picked, you know, and there was a really, really hard moment where someone picked nobody.
Nobody, yeah.
A card that said nobody, and DELGAUDIO could like barely say it because it's so sad. And so, you know, and it reveals something about someone that you really wish they didn't think about themselves. You know what I mean? So I guess I was wondering from you guys, like, if it was there like a moment or something that made you like have any realizations about your selfhood? Just like a small question.
Yeah, just some nice coffee chat. Geez, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that one. Josh, you can go first on that question.
Well, I got teased a lot as a kid and grapple with labels a lot. I think kids called me doofy, or and a lot of it was because of the clothes my parents bought me, which is something I couldn't control. So a lot of the labels we get are just things that are outside of our control. And is that fair? I mean, really?
Right. Right.
And maybe what was there all along was something beautiful, and it becomes hard for us to see. But my real question for you guys is, what was he getting at with the theme of the Rulatista, as far as like, if he is the Rulatista and the Rulatista is the guy who risks everything, what does it mean at the end of that Rulatista story when a robber comes in the house and the Rulatista says, "Do you know who I am?" And the robber shoots him because the robber didn't see who the Rulatista thought he was. So what does that
Right.
does that shade the rest of the show? That ending to the story, because we don't really talk about that part. He didn't really talk about the ending and all either. What do you guys think?
No, you're so that right. So that's interesting that because because the robber didn't know him to be someone who defied all the odds.
Yeah.
He wouldn't defy the odds in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like the label of a guy who is known to defy the odds just immediately crumbles when the beholder doesn't see it. That's I mean, I think that probably reinforces the theme of the show, right? That we are not one label. Here's an example of a guy that doesn't of a shooter who doesn't see that label.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I like that. I was thinking of it more as like it doesn't matter what we do or what we label ourselves, because in the end, like, nothing is really in our control. That's the sort of dark way that I took it.
I think that's also true. Yeah. Like also you can spend your time, there's a little bit of a, dare I say, a critique of Western capitalism allows for so many. Know this. I'm going to say some crazy shit right now. It's just like happening. But that a critique of Western capitalism's enabling of people's like leisure time, and in that leisure time they what we do is like analyze ourselves and think about ourselves and criticize ourselves and celebrate ourselves, and everything's about just like thinking about ourselves, and it's so insular. And then it's like, oh, you've spent all your time doing that, and then it's over, and because of forces outside of your control. So why did you spend your time doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Negin, do you think you're a wolf?
What was the wolf? Oh, the time between dog and wolf.
The time between dog and wolf, yeah. Because he had all these props that you can see setting up in advance. The 6 chambers, the 6 settings, and one of them is a wolf with a deck of cards, and he who's holding the deck of cards in his mouth, and he pulls it out, and that's one of his stories. And each story represents he feels something about himself.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to figure out if a wolf was a bad thing. Like, was being a wolf a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah,
or is it anything? Yeah.
Well, it's funny because so he talks about this time where he was like a high stakes card dealer person, and he would rig games to make a lot of money, and and the thing that I thought was really fascinating is like that it's magic. There's a sleight of hand involved, but it is also like just good old fashioned number counting and being able to like keep track of stuff and just having your brain like work that way, So he really demonstrated how skilled he was in that little section, but that also, I guess, that he went from being this kind of like innocent kid who knew how to shuffle cards really well to like a guy who played with very dangerous people in an effort to kind of take their money.
Yeah.
And so that is like a wolf-like quality, right?
Yeah.
But and I guess I felt like, oh, this is like a bad time in your life. Like I was like, yeah, being a wolf is bad. in general.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's dishonest or something, and you're ready. You want to pounce, like that's your whole. Your day it revolves around when you can pounce on the unsuspecting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, like wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like wolves just get a bad rap.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and as we're
Why
as
are
we're
wolves?
and as we're talking about that, I realized, there's that whole thing with the big bad wolf, and the House of Bricks and everything, and maybe the House of Bricks was something he built around himself as a shell, because of all the pain and the taunting he got from his mother, who was gay, who we later meet in the show, and just this really like jaw dropping
Oh,
moment. Hi,
Yeah.
mom.
yeah.
That whole
And Tim Gunn. Tim Gunn is in the audience.
Tim Gunn.
Like
Yeah,
you
it's
said.
just, yeah, but it's just it's a
Tim Gunn cries. Tim
Yeah.
Gunn cries
and
so much.
yes, and you always hear that the more personal you get, the more universal it gets. So this whole story that he's laying out is deeply personal, but it becomes universal at once because we can all identify as being made fun of, as labeled, as having to protect ourselves from the outside world, and to dig into something else along the way. So that's what really struck me, those little moments.
Yeah, and I love that the more personal you get, the more universal it becomes because, I lived in Virginia when I was a little girl, and it was in a place called Roanoke. And at the time, so this was like the 80s, and it was not a very like welcoming place. And one of my earliest memories is my brother coming home from school with a black eye. He's 13 years older than me, so he was already in high school, and he came home with a black eye because he was getting beaten up for being Iranian,
Wow.
and I, we ended up leaving Virginia, and I mostly grew up in Southern California in Palm Springs, because those days in Virginia were so unwelcoming for immigrants, and especially at that time in the 80s for Iranian immigrants, because people love to hate on Iran. I mean, just generally, but like especially in the 80s. And my brother was like the only Iranian kid at school, and also he would have been the only Iranian kid. I was the only Iranian kid at my school, but so I feel like if you're like a bigot and you see an Iranian, it's like maybe your only chance to beat one up. You know what I mean? So you got to take that chance. But like, I just remember that, the sense of him being bullied because his mother was gay. It's like everyone has a thing, and it doesn't have to be that you're BIPOC or gay or anything like that. It could just be, because you're wearing the wrong clothes, as Joshua was saying, or or you like the wrong music or whatever. And there's an otherness that in those brutal childhood years, that people can affix to you, that can be so painful. That part of the story really resonated with me.
Yep, you can imagine, you can see it for what it is, or imagine it for what it could be. That was another one of his themes,
Yeah.
and that could easily be referring to throwing off that label that other people see you as, and picking a new one. Like I would have picked Dreamer. What label would you guys have picked?
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
good.
thinking Dreamer too, and obviously, like if there was a mermaid label, I heard unicorn, so I was like, if there's a
Yeah.
unicorn, there must be a mermaid in there somewhere, because mermaids are but
Oh, I know. That's such a. It's funny. I thought about that question a lot. I don't know. I think I would creator or
mm-hmm.
uh, like citizen, which was I think Tim
Mm-hmm.
Gunn picked citizen. I like to think of myself in that sort of like civic terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's again like what one term, you know what I mean? Would you pick is like
I
such a
know.
hard,
Because there's
Yeah.
hard
so
thing
many. Yeah,
because
there's I
there's
mean, you're
so
so
many.
many different things. Yeah.
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 Well, they always say if you don't define yourself, then other people will define it for you. That's
Yeah.
that's that's a that's a rule in
I
life.
mean, yeah. How do you think he managed to pick everybody's labels
Oh my
correctly?
gosh. I mean, it's some old Harry Houdini trick. He's not. Um, yeah. I mean,
but it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
They literally, the audience members gave the cards, and this was on camera, right?
Yeah.
Like the audience members pick the card at the beginning of the show. They go into the theater. The cards end up in the hands of like a theater manager. The theater manager takes the cards over and like puts them on stage. Like it's not, and then he he splits the deck of the cards a couple times, you know what I mean? He does random things with the cards. So it's not like it maintains its original form the whole time either,
Yeah.
He doesn't touch them really, like, except for a couple of times. So it's like, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
It is, but I would have known that Larry Wilmore was an oracle immediately, so that's just me.
What was Bill Gates?
Leader.
Leader, that's right.
Yes.
Which was a little like,
I guess.
It's funny because a friend of mine was in the bank with a celebrity, very, very well-known celebrity the other day. And but the teller didn't know that person was a celebrity and was like, okay, if you could just wait in the whatever, we'll be with you when we're with you. You know what I mean? We'll just fucking wait for it. And the celebrity said to my friend, do you know who I am? And she said, yes, I know who you are. She's like, do you think I should play the celebrity card?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I know. And my friend was like, and she's like, you're right. I'll just be patient. A-list celebrity. And I was like, that's great. Like you're self-aware that you can use it, and you're self-aware that you shouldn't use it.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That was a flip to me. So my point with Bill Gates is like, you picked leader. It's other people that are supposed to call you a leader, dude.
Yeah, true.
It should be something a little bit more intimate that you choose yourself. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fair.
The audience interaction was my favorite part of the whole show. Honestly, that book, with the Mr. Tomorrow. He said, "Oh, you're not going to get to see the end of the show. I need someone to come back tomorrow. Who's it going to be?"
Yeah.
He called him Mr. Tomorrow. And then what was the other? The people from yesterday were called Mrs. Yesterday. Is that what he called her? The girl that came on stage. Yeah. And each one of them in turn took this logbook home. I'm sure taking it home, they signed a form with the stage to make sure they would come back in some sense. But each one of them did over these 500 some shows. And they wrote a whole page about what they thought the last 10 or 15 minutes of the show was going to be after they left. What they thought it was. Some people thought it was the elephant, because he had that story about 5 blind people touching the elephant. And that's he's just stretching out the trunk, the tail, the wall. It's the thing, it's the this, it's that. So some people thought he was going to create a whole elephant on stage. Everybody. And then he showed you, you couldn't do this on stage so well, but the film version was I thought probably added more layers than the stage version.
It was in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
And also you got to see like a little highlight of so many of the people coming back and their reactions. And
I think, talk about Rulatista, like, that's such a vulnerable moment in the show every night to hope that Mr. Yesterday came back.
Yeah. Like, what if someone just takes that book and runs?
Exactly.
They must take some sort of
or they take the book and they break their leg and they're in the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's such a vulnerable moment to wonder if that person is going to come back. And I remember thinking, like, there's a way of playing Russian roulette every night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's very true.
Yeah. That reminds me of the one time that I had my stomach trauma and I was in the hospital, but that was the only time I was ever supposed to be on jury duty that day. So sorry, jury duty. I was in the hospital. I
was supposed to do jury duty during the pandemic.
Oh yeah?
Like I got a summons and I was like, I guess this doesn't mean anything right now.
Sorry, you gotta stay home. Darn, yeah.
What were some of your guys' other favorite moments in this?
They show, again, talk about like the film version being a little bit more rich. We got to see a lot, and maybe this was in the live version too, but in the film version, we got to see a lot of archival footage from him and his mom in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, that stuff. Yeah, that was precious.
It was just, like, lovely. And it also made me realize, like, I don't have very much of that. For whatever reason, my parents just didn't archive our childhood, um and it's so lovely that like it makes me want to be like, hey parents, do that, because it's really cute. Like just to
Yeah.
see, and also to see, the mom had this like fabulously feathered hair of the
Oh.
80s, you know what I mean? She just looked like she was out of an 80s music video, like gorgeous, long feathered hair. And to see the kid with his chubby cheeks, Delgadio is with his chubby cheeks, and the clear love and affection between him and his mom, as a kid, was just like, it painted a picture. It was really moving, and it also painted a picture of this person who has, so much dimension that you might look at that, you might take, it's like right now, I think the other thing that the show does, and I don't actually know when it was up, maybe 2018 or something, but you look at the show now, and we talk about labels so much, like cancel culture and blah blah blah, and woke blah blah blah, and everything is about like, I want to make sure POC this and BIPOC that and LGBTQ plus whatever. And I say this as a woman of color, and I say this as a Muslim. I think that sometimes our over labeling of everything all the time is exhausting. Or like there's like it'll be like, oh, there's I met this oh, this guy was a dick to me online. Of course, he was a white guy or whatever. Like the constant labeling is, but and I find it, as someone who's wanted to be recognized for the specificity of my hyphenated self, like my whole life, I'm now like, okay, Wiki, like it's like, because you look at a guy like Derek Delgadio and you think he's a privileged white guy. Like if you just were to walk by him on the street, like that's what you would think, but you wouldn't know this backstory, the life that the trouble that he saw, the damage that he suffered from having a gay mom and all of that. Like you wouldn't know anything about that. You would just be saying, ugh, privileged white guy. And so it made me just feel like that the show was subtly, and again, I don't think I don't think the show is a response to any of this particularly. I think it was far more intimate, but it does resonate for me on like a broader social level of our extreme labeling that we're doing right now, which in some ways is fantastic, right? Because we were so quick to like ignore everybody's personhood before, and so now we're doing it, and that's great, but then we're also like at the same time taking away any nuance that people might have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With our like constant labeling. So I don't know, I thought that was which, by the way, please don't at me. Like I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not trying to like get canceled right now. I'm just like thinking of like.
Wouldn't that be ironic? Yeah.
Philosophical here about like what these labels might mean in our current time.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. And it's funny, I was about to ask you how it feels to take a break from talking about terrible things on your show, but
Well, and it's funny because you're talking about just going based off looks, and this is very small and surface level, but the first thing I noticed was how tired he looked, and he had these dark circles under his eyes. And I remember thinking, I wonder if that, like, is that all to add to the whole, like, aura of him being this very damaged, sad person? But then I Googled him, and he really does have those dark circles. On like red carpets and everything. I was so cynical going in. I wondered if they had like a makeup person.
Oh, that's so funny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're right. Like I scrolled down his like Instagram and noticed that too. But but at the end of the day though, like you wouldn't be wrong to think that a makeup artist was doing that, because this was a show, right? He's a performer, and so it's not like everything we saw was just some kind of I woke up like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is an element of showmanship that was, I think, so finely tuned that it felt like it just kind of organically came up from his soul.
Yeah, and I like what Cassie said about being cynical, because it just reminded me that another one of the themes is all this knowledge that we get, all this information covers up our true selves that was there right from when we were kids. That's why he has those videos of himself as a kid. Um, and the showmanship part, wow! Like when he has a blindfold over his face and does the card tricks, and he's like, "You guys probably thought I should get all these in order," and then he takes the blindfold off, and he's like, "Well, I would have if I didn't have this blindfold on my face. You guys, come on."
That was funny.
And then he proceeds to get all four like suits in a row, ridiculously. That was just
ridiculous.
Come on.
Yeah, they're so skilled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's time for final thoughts.
I mean, are you guys gonna recommend this to others?
Oh, I will.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, that was less of a resolute.
Cassie didn't quite get it, but that's okay. I loved it.
No, I had a friend that was like, "Yeah, I turned it off after a few minutes." I was like, "What?"
Yeah, well, no. To be fair, it does start a little slow. You know, like I build it to my dad.
That's not why. I can sit through something slow.
Right. Well,
Like,
I mean, for my dad, I build it as like a magic show, and he just sees like this weird, puppet like clicking a gun over himself, click, 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 and he's like,
sure. Listen,
Then-
no. I mean,
you know?
parts of it felt very like manipulative, and I don't know how much of it was real or fake or whatever. But in the end, a lot of people were moved by it, and I guess in the end, that's what matters. If people take something good away from it, then I guess it doesn't matter how it came about or how real it was or how genuine, you know. So that's why I would still recommend it, even though I'm not sure how moved I was by it, just because I was so cynical about it. But again, it's if you take something positive away from it, then that's what's important.
"It is until you find a gold brick thrown through your window."
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will will just really enthusiastically recommend it to others. I think it's just also, I think at the end of the day, the other thing that it's remarkable about it is that I've never seen anything like it
No.
particularly.
No.
It's unique. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
so I think on that front too, just like, oh, this is like a different genre of thing, that I haven't seen, and and I spend so much time in live theater spaces,
Yeah.
so it's like I was almost like, I can't believe I haven't seen something like this.
That's right. Oh, and I forgot, Negin. We need to get you to talk about your upcoming show.
Yes, on June 8th in New York City, I'm going to be doing my first solo evening. It's called Negin Farsad Presents an Evening of Comedy from Her Mouth Hole. And I've been doing, the clubs have been open, thank God, for the last few months, but this is going to be my first time doing a full hour since before the pandemic. And
Yes.
the last time I did stand up before the pandemic was like literally like 2 or 3 weeks before lockdown. I was in Iowa City. It was to an audience of 1,000, and afterwards I signed books for 700 people who were standing in line. We took photos, we hugged, we shook hands. Super spreader event is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be this is going to be full waxed. You got to have your Excelsior pass or show your CDC card at the door, which is really easy. I've now a bunch of times. And it's going to be fun, and there's drinks, and and it feels, now that we've all been, the theaters are slowly opening up. The small theaters are all opening June 1st in New York. Things feel like they're like moving ahead, and hopefully we'll have a really good time on June 8th.
Awesome.
I'm sure you will. And my final thought is that ending of the show, when the 6 chambers were revealed to somehow just be like a painting of sorts. He pulls the curtain back and the whole thing falls down because he'd physically put like objects like this ship in a bottle, like in these little glass chambers where we thought they were glass, and then it's revealed to just be a wall the whole time. I mean, that's just, it does. I mean, what the audience was watching everything. There's no like magician sleight of hand there. I mean, how did he do that, you guys? Who knows? That was incredible. Took the audience's breath away. Took the audience's breath away. Yep. Negin, did we lose you?
Oh, she froze. Oh.
No? Well, this is not going to be good for the YouTube audience.
waited till the very end to happen.
Yes, at least thank goodness for that. Well, we'll just wait a second. Oh my gosh, rendering?
Oh, it stopped recording. Yeah.
Oh,
Didn't
why?
that happen last time? Didn't that happen last time? I feel like this happened the last time. Like, it just stopped recording.
Okay. I thought at
Like,
first maybe it was
hello.
my connection, but if it was, then I couldn't talk to you, obviously. So it's not my internet connection.
Yeah, no, she was going kind of in and out
Well,
for a bit.
yeah, well, I need to talk to Squadcast about that because I didn't hit stop record.
That's annoying.
Well, I'll wait for a minute to come back because we didn't get to do ratings, you know. But I mean,
Yeah.
Well, shoot. This is
You have her number or no?
I don't have her number. I do not have her number. I wonder if I can. It says reconnecting. I clicked on the little. Oh, do you see the little settings tab on everybody's face or no?
Everyone's face?
No, I mean the bottom left. Do you see a settings tab for everybody? Or is that just me as the host?
Yeah, that's just you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it just I click on the settings tab and it shows me your everything. It's weird. The microphone, the HDMI connection, the Wi-Fi.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Oh, now we're recording again, too.
Great. Well, I just hit record. Yeah, oddly enough,
Okay.
Squadcast cut us off. I'm not sure how that happened. But
Oh, okay.
okay. Well, I think we got those final thoughts out. We got everything else. But let's just let's do our final ratings. We do a 1 out of 10 system, and we usually, I don't know if you heard the show. We give it, say, like 7.5 out of something Derek DELGAUDIO'S. You know, we give it like something from the movie. Okay, so you guys want to give it a rating?
I mean, I give it like a 9.5 golden bricks out of 10 bricks.
There you go. I love that.
Well, dang, I was going to go with golden bricks. Now what am I doing? I'm going to give it
Oh my god, this is so hard for you.
because I don't want to offend you because you loved it so much.
No. Truly, like one of my friends just, like I said, turned it off. Like, so don't worry. I won't
Okay.
offend it.
I'm gonna
I
say.
don't even know Derek DELGAUDIO.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, she's gonna text him.
Derek
after and be
DELGAUDIO is my brother.
Okay, I'll do 6.5 tie blindfolds out of 10.
That's.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of some reason I can't rate it a 10. I don't know.
Do you need to rate it out of 7?
No, I.
If you need to change the scale, we understand.
No, it's only to 10. Okay, I'm gonna give it 10 Rulatisas out of 10.
Oh my god! Okay.
You are the Rulatista, you guys.
Someone is Derek DELGAUDIO's brother.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, great. Well, that's our show. Thanks so much, Negin, for coming on. Everybody,
fun.
go subscribe to Fake the Nation right now and listen to our Patreon called.
Oh, my Patreon?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Your
Oh,
Patreon?
No, yours bonus. No, we do.
Your Patreon.
No, we don't have one yet. No. Your bonus the Nation episodes.
You have a Patreon. Second of all, my Patreon is patreon.com/Negin Farsad, a name that is both easy to pronounce and spell. So look me up. We have a bunch of fun free stuff on Patreon, like episodes of Fake the Nation. And you'll love Fake the Nation. If you like hearing 3 people talk, then...
We do, obviously.
Because you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Then you'll love Fake the Nation.
All right. Great. And we are out. Just hold on for a second, while Squadcast does its thing.
Sure.
And